but the light is too much. Okay, so when we started developing, we decided that we're going to develop in courts. So we have court A, B, and then C. Now, this is what the estate would look like at the time we're done. So at the moment, the construction is on court A, and then we have some other work going on C and B, but I'll get to that. This is the layout of the entire estate. Can everybody hear me? So this is the layout of the entire estate. Next slide. Okay, so what I've done is we've brought out some of the figures from the units sold and all of that. Now, when we sold the court A and court B, total number of units meant to be in A and B is 184 units, meaning 80 plus 12, so 92 on each court. So for A and B, which is between 6.6 and 10.5, gives us a total of 184 units. Now, fully paid up number of units is 96. Now, I remember when we started selling, we had said that this payment was supposed to be for a period of 30, 60, at the most 90 days. Now, we realized and we found out that we've had quite a number of clients spill over into even this year. Now, total number of defaulting units, we have 76 units. Number of refunded or swapped units, we have some clients who have swapped to either Eastland or any of the other projects, so asked for their money back. We have 12 units. Now, as at today, we've allocated 3 blocks, which is a total of 54 units. Now, pending allocations that we have is 46 units. Now, contrary to what some of us might think or what we might feel, this is, well, I have back-end information to prove the data that has been displayed. Now, we went on a certain conversation in recent times, 2 different conversations that we started having. One is the conversation of semi-finished versus finished. The second one is for the defaulting clients. But I'll still get to that of Eastland. But for Fairfield, we've decided that, because we have some clients who bought at 6.6 who still have their payments outstanding until today. Now, because of maybe relationship that we have with some of the realtors and partners, we decided that we're going to still hold them, but we realized that it was causing us more harm than good. The reason we sold at 6.6 for a start was to raise money for the construction in the first place. Now, inflation and everything that has happened, we've decided that we're going to start calling people to divest their investments. Next slide. Now, please note that allocation is no longer by courts earlier brought into criteria, it's purely on completion of payment. So we have clients who initially, when they bought into court B or court A. So on allocation, the first set of allocation that we did was those who have finished paying and were starting from the top to the bottom. So if Mr. A finishes his payment on Tuesday and Mr. B finishes his payment next week Friday, we're going to allocate to Mr. A before we allocate to Mr. B. Now, if Mr. A doesn't finish his payment before Mr. B, by the time we get to allocation, we're going to allocate Mr. B before Mr. A. It's no longer how you started making payments. So if you start making payments June 2020 and you don't complete your payment on time, you will not be allocated to. Now, like I said, initially we had just decided to wing it, but now we're trying to reconstruct the entire transaction and make sure that we're all, there's no loss on any end. Okay, next slide. But before I continue, does anybody have any questions? Now, next slide. So what we've done a brief projection schedule of the current construction for those of us who have been to sites in recent times. So in Court A, we have Block 5, 1, and 3. Block 5, 1, and 3 completed and have been allocated. We have just Block 2 and 4 currently being constructed, and both of them I think are on the second floor. Now we have done, Mr. James, our architect, has done something where we have an idea of how long it's going to take for us to complete. So if you look at I don't know if everyone can see this. Okay, so we're anticipating that the construction by 2021, by December 2021, we're going to allocate the next set of units, which is our block 2 and then 4. The last allocation we had, I think, was in June. Is it June or July? So the next allocation for 2 and 4 would be by December. I remember when I said that we're going to allocate now, based on the conversation of finished versus semi-finished. Only clients who have agreed to the semi-finished option would be allocated by December. The 2 allocations that we did some months ago was still based on that premise. Now we've started a round of, I think maybe I should address that. We started a round of conversations with all the clients. Now, please note that this conversation will continue to happen until we've successfully allocated everybody. Now, we're speaking to all the clients and we're telling them that these are the options. Now, we noticed that the communication going out to the clients at some point was wrong. Some clients felt that we were asking them to just bring money. Middlechase just wants your 2 million or your 2.5 million. So we had to do a second round of conversation with clients. We've had Zoom meetings with some clients to explain to them that this is the situation. We don't even want the money. All you need to do is take your semi-finished apartment and finish it yourself. We don't want the money, but if you want us to finish it for you, then no problem. And that was how we arrived at the last allocation that we did some months ago. Now the next allocation, we're already getting names and emails. Some people are sending us responses that they will choose the semi-finished apartment. So those are the people that were filling the slots for the next allocation for. Like I said, in December, we're having the next set of allocation. Okay, next slide. Now for Court B, please go to the first no, this one, the next one. Now for those of us who might not know where Court B is, because I know at some point there was a bit of confusion. Now Court B is just beside the Court A, and Court C is now opposite where you have the sample building. So because of the backfill, I know some of us, or most of us, will be aware of the remodeling. Now we had done some remodeling and reshuffling to all of the apartments. So we decided, initially Court C was meant to be at the back. So in a bid for us to meet up with our timelines and ensure that everything is as we want it to be, we brought it forward. Now piling has started on Court C, and also piling has started on Court B. For those of us who have been to site, we know that. So please let me go back to that slide. No. Yes, it's fine. Okay. So as I said, for the remaining of units in Court A, by the end of this year, the allocation would have been done. Now for the Court B, by 2022, we're looking at first or second quarter of 2022, we should have started allocations of the semi-finished units. That's for the Court B. And the next one. Sorry?
You said you didn't get the last thing.
I said for the Court B, by the first and second quarter of next year, we would have started the allocations of those units. Now for Close A, for those of us who know the site quite well, Close A is on the left, where you have the tennis court. If you notice, if you've been to site, you will notice that you have some apartments being built beside the tennis courts, which are just ground and lawn. So this is how it's going to look. So construction has already started on that wing. Next slide. So we would have allocations also on that wing starting from end of by December this year, and then we'll continue to next year. We're meant to have about 3 blocks on that wing, but for now construction has started on 2 of those blocks. Initially, that Close A wing was meant to house only 1-bedroom apartments, but because of the shortfall and because of the remodeling, we decided to switch it and turn them to 2 and 3 bedroom units. They're a bit different from what we have on the wing, but they're still the same thing. So by end of this year, into next year, we'll continue. So next slide. So the Court C units are the ones that are a bit different, but still almost the same thing as what we have. So people in Court C are the people who are buying now. So people in Code C are those who are buying at this point, where we have people buying at 16 million on and on and on. Now the units are a bit different because they're not at the same price as the ones we sold earlier. Sorry? Yes, they are bigger. They are not the same as what we have currently in Block 05 and the rest of them. This is an idea, no, sorry. This is an idea of what it would look like. And that's okay, so next slide. So, because this is the one that's most recent, we're anticipating, or rather we're projecting, that by the third or fourth quarter of next year, allocations on Code C would have started. I think it's okay. Before I go any further, please, I'd like to take questions. Yes, please.
Okay. When you say at the place where you have sample buildings, which sample building are you talking about? Is it the one when you're coming from the Eastland Golf Gate?
That's what we call our sample units.
So where exactly is Eastland Golf starting from?
After that units, I wish I had known this number reflected on that layout. Now, if you notice where we started the allocations from, there's a fence that cuts off down to the back of the estate. I wish I had something to show you.
If you enter the Eastland Golf Gate,
so if you notice where we started the allocations from.
Where you have that field road.
Where you have some of the roads, yes. So that's straight road all the way down. So we have about a few blocks on here, and then there's a fence that cuts and all the way down to the end of the estate is where this is. There's not going to be any demarcation or fence between Eastland and Fairfield. I think we already said that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the problem I have, or the issue I have, is that yes, we make some mistakes initially, we try to correct them, and the most important aspects of this real estate business is integrity. Integrity in delivering what is reasonable and what you have promised. So from your conversation, there's been so many changes, quote and unquote, the realtors are not aware of, which you did in your internal meetings. Quote and unquote again, the clients are not aware of. So at this point in time, I get so confused. You have changed Code A, you have brought it here, you have changed Code B, you have brought it here. No communication to this effect. And we are getting backlash, so much backlash that things are not doing. Yes, it is your prior business and priority to try to meet up with allocations. But I do believe newsletters, bulletins to your realtors, keep them informed so that they can also communicate. I mean, we've had like 30 minutes of presentation now, and it's making absolute sense to me. But our customers out there are not aware of this. Over 80% of the realtors in Middlechase platform are not aware of all these things you're saying. So why would you have an issue? I have had personal conversations with you. Middlechase, they're my friends. I've had personal conversations with at least 80% of your staff. I don't believe it will get to a stage where you have over 100 lawsuits, and at the end of the day you can't walk. To whose advantage or benefit is that? Everything you're telling me now, 80% of it is brand new. Brand new information that I don't know, brand new information that my clients don't know. So why won't you have a problem? I really don't understand.
Okay, I'm good. Let me just quickly address that part. In terms of clarity, even when on the month of May, we started sending out our first batch of messages to realtors and to clients. Even some of the modeling that we have, that we are adopting, we sent them as messages. There is no realtor or client who will say that did not get the message, but only with because yesterday we verified for some people who said they did not get, because here is what really happens sometimes. Even before that particular period, we had a situation where people said they did not get the email, only for them to have the email, but they did not go through the mails. They did not go through the mails. They are said they will go back again. For those people who said they don't have the emails, they're going to go back again and try to bring them out all again. Because interestingly, we had this conversation, and so some of the leadership, we've had meetings with the leadership, some leadership of some of the groups that who were meant to have this communication before that time. There was a particular meeting we were meant to even have in the month of June, and we had that discussion and we had a bit of clarity. Now, we are sorry, we should have had the general meeting, which did not hold. We were supposed to have that clarity so that we have that particular clarity. That is where the mistake on our own part really is. It's not, at the end of the day, what we did fit, what we felt was much more important. And if you look at the layouts where we had the courtesy before, that we had to bring forward, if we have to run infrastructure down to where we have the, take me back to that layout, where we had the infrastructure, where we had that, if I go to run infrastructure from the point of the gate down to the end, it will take a whole lot of time for us to be able to work on the courtesies, especially for those people who are currently buying now. And that's why, as at this time, we've done about as at Friday last week, we've done about 77 piles for just one block out of 96 piles for this, which is this one. Because here originally was where so we brought this one here to be able to deliver on time. Now, the reason why we have to do that is because we understand the delay, and if you have to take it will stretch a whole lot of time for us. It's better for you to be forward, and we can easily work on. The reason why we are doing that now, we have been able to achieve that, is that I think we started the pile work, I think maybe just barely a month ago, for the courtesy, for the block 1 in courtesy, which is this one. And already, I think by Thursday, Thursday, we should have been concluded. I don't know the number that as of today, but by Thursday, it should have been concluded. Then we can start the pie cap process and all of that. Court B already, which is this other one, which is this one. We already started work on it. Already four pilers already have been commissioned. Some part of it, some work have already started. So that means we are working simultaneously on both court B and court C. That's what it simply means. Instead of just waiting for us to conclude on court B before we start with court C. So those are some of the things that we're currently doing that we have decided that we should aid us, that we should help ourselves with. And also because of the fact that we have already duplicated, we have already done so, we already know how the process will be for court A. Based on what we have done in court A, it's now easier for us to implement both on court B and court C. So those are just what. So it's not that maybe we did not want to push out information, but sometimes some of us, the way we get the information, we may not have proper clarity, and that's why we decided that we should have this general town hall meeting, so that there will be clarity on our own part and also on your own part. Because some of the things we have actually discussed, and we have even sent out as even mail. If you check out I need to even see some of those mails that were sent out too. If you sent out some of the mails that were sent out, we actually highlighted down to the point where the cost of the two of the whatever will be required for additional payment will be made, down to those specific details. The reason why we are also doing that is this. Now, also with the cost of inflation jumping as the cost of materials jumping so high at any particular point in time, which we also do not even have control for. Now, if somebody even gets to the point where he even delay in making up his mind, what it simply means is that if maybe a bag of tile pack, let us just imagine that maybe the tile bag is maybe about 7,000 naira or thereabout, and all of a sudden the prices jumps maybe within those particular period when we have even estimated that we are going to work on the person's property, jumps from 7,000 naira to 10,000 naira. At that particular stage, it may not even get to the point whereby it's now even our fault, because we are not the one to determine even the cost of some of this material. Now, the major reason why we are asking for maybe this additional, it's not even because of coronavirus. It's not that, and it's not because of the fact that it's not because of that. The major reason, or probably maybe because of the pandemic, it is majorly because we did that expansion. and that expansion comes with its additional cost. And if at that particular point in time we did not say, we said to ourselves that instead of just trying to just give the client whatever he wants, after all, it just should be this client, they pay 6.6 million naira, let them just take whatever they want. It will be us acting when some realtors have already visited the site and they felt that okay, this thing might not be quite okay. If we have taken the decision of saying let us do, it will mean that we are not a listening company. It will also mean that okay, we just wanted, because it was just it is the feedback that we get that we went back again to go and work with. Now, if we had not taken that decision, and it will have even told badly on everybody, because things do not even need to get to a point whereby there's a hit up between the realtor and the client before we know that okay, let us make an adjustment. And by virtue of that adjustment, there's nobody who will get to site. Who will get to the site and see the finished unit and compare it with what was before, and will say that we have not done a good job in expanding. There's nobody. I can guarantee that one. I'm betting everything that I have on it. Majorly because we took our time to explicitly do that. Now let me also explain this. When we even made that decision of changing, we had already inserted material that even for the beams and all of that had even gone underground, that we're not even using, that we didn't even eventually use. Because if it pays us, it pays us for us to deliver at that particular stage. I'm telling you the truth. It pays us to deliver and to give what we had initially promised. It will pay us. Because going back again, at the end of the day, if the client does not really appreciate it at the end of the day, what then is the use? It is better to get a disgruntled client at first. Then when the client starts using the product, the client appreciates it, then the client is happy eventually at the end of the day. Than for the client to be disgruntled from the beginning down to the end. And that is what we had, that's the decision that we needed to have made as at that point. Now, going back again, there are certain people that were not meant to even become to be allocated. That some of it we never had the opportunity, we never had the design for the 1 bedroom on Court A initially. But because of that, we had to now bring the you can imagine us converting a typical 2-bedroom into a 1-bedroom apartment. A typical 2-bedroom design into a 1-bedroom apartment. Now, a typical 3-bedroom, converting it into a 2-bedroom apartment. You can imagine that okay, the kind of space that we'll eventually have. It's not because it is not attainable anywhere. It is attainable sometimes. Some people deliver such on the mainland, they also deliver it on the island. But at the end of the day, we don't want to do something at the end of the day because it's just because you are paying a certain amount of money, they will now devalue whatever you are investing in. And where we have probably erred, and I think I made that apology when I did my presentation, where we eventually erred was not carrying everybody along. But I must say this again, if we had done that as at that particular point, we will have divergent opinion. And sometimes we will not be able to conclude on time. And when we have a situation whereby it is not a bungalow development, or is it a semi-duplex or duplex, it gave us room for us to think on our feet. The reason is because Mrs. Martha might decide to say, I want to think about it. And somebody else is saying, okay, I want it. And somebody else is saying, I want to think about it. And somebody else is saying, I want it. What it will have placed us, it will have placed us at a particular point where we will have paused activity. And if we pause activity, what will have happened? What will your client even say to you when we pause activity? Now, some of the things that we are saying now, we are only saying them because how eventually it played out. But as at that particular point in time, it will have just smelt badly on everybody. That is why we decided that let us take which measure can we really take at this time. Let us take the measure of going forward. When we get to the river, what we will do is that we're going to find a way to cross it, and that is what we did. That's why I'm really apologetic for not carrying everybody along. But it is better to move forward than to be stagnant. It is better for us to make progress than for us to pause. Because if we have said okay, I'll announce to everybody, and you have said okay, today I told you guys that you guys should wait, let me think about it. and we have allocated to somebody else, what it would have meant was that you will now even be more angry that we took a decision without even letting you know further. So it was at that stage, at that critical stage that we were, that it was not a good place for us to be in. And it's not that it's not something that anybody, company will want to even envy. But at that particular stage, we needed to make a decision. And what decision should we make? The decision that will be in the best interest of everybody at the end of the day. And that is why we decided to go ahead with it. I'm sorry, personally I'm sorry. As a company, we are sorry for not carrying you along the way, because really, clarity will have even built confidence for everybody if we already understood where we were or what we were actually doing. But at that particular stage, we felt that the honorable thing to do was to move forward. Even during that particular period, if you notice, from the month of June and July, there was activity every day. Personally, I was posting activity every day on my own page. Every day we were sending updates on a daily basis as to what progress we were making. It wasn't because we felt that we were pushing it on our various platforms. We were also pushing it on my own personal page, and also the pages we were also doing a newsletter on a monthly basis. Even get to a point where the newsletter was even on a weekly basis, where the customer service team were sending messages every week as to the level of progress that was being made. It was at that particular stage that we needed to make that critical point. Now, the setback that we actually even have on the project was also, will people eventually like it, or will people not like it? Now, I can say this to everybody, almost 80% of the people that we have spoken to as a company have decided to go ahead with the semi-finished unit. Every one of them that we have spoken with have decided. So it's good for us. That's why now the pace of work has increased a bit, which is one of the reasons why we are setting out with the block, with the cut B and the cut C. If not, we'll have just said, okay, let us wait. If people want the old layout or the old one, we will have gone ahead to still build for them. But at the end of the day, even somebody said to us, somebody who did maybe 1 or 2 units was at the end of the day said, okay, I just want this particular one, just that I don't want to pay extra for it. And that's why we said that sometimes there's any concession that you as a realtor may not be able to give to the client, because every client, we are all quite different. There's any client that also still wants, there's some adjustments some of the clients are also still making. Some clients are making adjustments in terms of, you know what, I don't want to use your tiles, I want to use something extra. So that semi-finished unit comes also to play for them. It is not really everybody. Now, it is not everybody that wants it in a certain way. Everybody has their own peculiarity, what they want, how they want it. Some people want their kitchen to be walled up completely, while some people want their kitchen to be walled up, but not completely, but to the point where they can, there will be this elevation so that when they are cooking, they can shut down the, we have this open plan kitchen, so that when they are cooking, they can make that, they can pull it down, and once it's done, they can always pull it off. So certain people have a certain adjustment that they want to do. Some people want certain kind of tiles that is quite different from the other. So really, we are even going back again, sitting down with some people and having direct discussion with them. So when we have certain issues with our clients, I want to implore us to let the office have that interaction with the client, where you will also participate in that discussion. Because there's a way I'm going to communicate to the client that is quite different from the way you communicate with the client. And that just, maybe, I understand that, okay, some of us, we are protective of our clients, we want to, but at this particular stage, what we just need to do is to be able to work in alignment with each other, so that at the end of the day, we are able to make good use of our engagement with each other. So I'm really, Mrs. Ali, I'm really sorry to your clients and to everybody for the lack in communication. It was not our intention. Even when we had meeting with some of the directors of REMS the last time in June, this thing that we are discussing now was what we actually discussed, and it was meant that we should have pushed those contents out to them in the month of June, because even between now and that time, it's about maybe 60 days already. So it should have been communicated, because we felt that, okay, at the end of the day, there will be a section that where that interaction will have been held. Now, the reason why some of us are angry, it's not even, we are not angry for the change. We are only angry because it has taken a while for us to get to this point where there is clarity. And that is why, and sometimes it makes us look as though we ourselves as realtors do not even know exactly what we are doing. Or probably maybe it simply means that, well, we don't know our job well enough. So for putting you in that position, I'm really very, very sorry to everyone. It is not our intention to make a mockery of every of our efforts, but at the end of the day, it's such that at the end of the day, it is for the good of everybody. Mr. Sorry, you have a question. You have a question, sir.
Okay. I want to ask, yes, enough apology for the lack of information, and then, of course, everybody will agree that these changes...
So what's the name, sir?
My name is Dennis.
Dennis. Right.
That these changes has caused you as a company some infractions, and also we and our clients some frictions. What necessitated these changes? The layout, the plan, the floor plans, and the ones we are using presently. Is it that the designer, the architect didn't know how it will turn out to be at the end when the shape comes up?
Yeah.
Not necessitated it, because when you decide to change the goalpost in the middle of the game, definitely there will always be misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Middlechase as a going concern, and no matter the explanation I'm going to give, some people will not buy it. They say, agreement is an agreement. This is rules. We agree. Understand?
Yeah.
Now, your explanations, they seem cogent, they seem acceptable. We are not even mentioned about because of the cost of inflation. That's the reason why we are saying no. You expanded.
Yeah.
What necessitated?
Sorry, so that I just answered that question once and for all. I think we've been able to. I've been talking about it. I've answered that question again and again. It's not that the property cannot be used. It's not that the property is not usable. But let me also state this: the cost of property, maybe when we bought the property was about 6.6 million naira. What has eventually made the property even currently appreciate to this point where we sell it at how much are we selling now? Yeah? 60 million naira now. It's not that the property just appreciated so well. It is the conditions that we put on it that made it appreciate. It is the things, the expansion that we created that made it appreciate. Because it will probably maybe we might be selling well over let's say about 9 million naira at today. If not for the expansion. So there are certain things that actually increases the value of a property, which was what we did as at that time. Number two also was that because we got to a point where some people visited and they felt that, okay, you know what, I think that from opinion, and which is what sometimes there are feedbacks. The reason of also having feedback is because so that we can look again and we can look within. If what we have set out as a goal is not something that we want to achieve, or probably maybe it's not at a desirable position, we might need to be able to get back again and redraft whatever we wanted to do. So it's not that, let me say this, it's not that the property wasn't usable, but we have to go back again to say, at the end of the day, what kind of value do we want to create for the client at the end of the day? I have had a situation before when we used to sell land somewhere in Agbara before, where somebody bought a property for maybe about 550,000 naira in Agbara, and the person, when dollar was 165 naira to $1, the person bought land, and the property appreciated to 850,000 naira. 4 years after, the person wants to sell his property, and because it's a distressed property, he now has to sell the property at maybe about 450,000 naira from 850,000. Now, 4 years after, $1 became what? 363 naira to $1. Now, what the man has actually sold the property for in real value was about 200,000 naira. That's what it meant. Now, we don't know how some of these clients who buy property from us, most of them, I don't know for you, but 80% of the clients are not based in Nigeria. True or false? Now, if the dollar rate, now dollar is about 500 naira to what? To when your clients bought, they bought at when dollar was about 360 something naira, right? Now dollar is about 500,000 naira. Imagine if the value of the same property is still is maybe even at 9 million naira. What will it be have been said that the value has been added to their project? Even though the property has increased in value in naira, but it has not increased in value according to their own dollar rate. So what we needed to do was that we needed to make something, not just something that will just adjust and say, okay, we are just okay with it. But because at the end of the day, because we want to create total value for everybody. And that's where we needed to be. I know that your clients, most of them are not based in Nigeria. Maybe 80% or thereabout. And that is it for majority of us. If at the end of the day, your client buys the property and he does not even enjoy value on the property, what then is the essence of the investment? Because it has happened before. And sometimes a client will tell you that I'm never going to buy a property anymore. I'm not going to buy property in Nigeria. Not because of the inflationary rate, not because it is you, but because of the fact that this person, I did not enjoy the investment that I made. If today a client says, I want to sell my property, this allocated property, at 16 million naira, he will be okay with 16 million naira, no matter how much we are asking the person to bring in. And that is what we want to create for the client eventually. And that is what is much important. I understand the fact that, okay, that's infraction and all of that. But the truth of the matter is that, can this one, can we settle it and we are okay with it? Because at the end of the day, the client is with us forever. And if the client does not enjoy his own first investment, then it's absolutely nonsense that we have actually achieved. Whether we like it or not. And so I would rather let the client know, boss, give me first punch. We are okay with it. I'm sorry, sir. No hala. But that you now continue to give me punch all the days of my life because you are forever with me is what I will not want at the end of the day. So it is for us to decide what exactly we want to achieve as against what we just want for temporary gain, and we are all okay with it. Like I've often said to us, it is not just about us making money initially, because we are good with whatever we are doing. Like I said to us again, we have already inserted plugs, we have materials. Even before the time when we did allocation, the fittings had already been bought. I think I even posted some of those fittings online. Before we even did the first, the piling, we bought some of the fittings that we needed for the toiletries. So it was not that maybe we are looking for money to go and buy toiletries when people have finished paying. It was that immediately we already got them. The time we went to, when we had the trip to Dubai, before that trip, the first trip to Dubai, we already gotten those items on ground. Not that we are looking for them to go and get. Some of them are still currently on the site as we speak. But beyond all of that, what is more important is value. At the end of the day, what is more important is value. If the person does not get value, even if we speak English from now to tomorrow, it does not really pay the client at the end of the day. And that's what we needed to choose from as at that time. I made this point of doing the dollar rate to us because we understand some of the clients, and some of these our clients, they are not based in Nigeria. Some of them, they are sourcing for fun, and then the property now appreciates to a particular rate and is not enjoying the investment. It comes back to you at the end of the day. Because the person will tell you that it's not the same way I bought a property from you 2 years ago. Now, the same thing, that the value of the property, naira has jumped from 360 naira to 500. The person may not be happy with his investment. And that was what really happened at the time when we made that decision. I hope I've been able to explain. I know that the explanation may not be, but we just keep on apologizing and appealing to everybody. The question, ma'am.
You mentioned that you got my name is Beatrice. You mentioned that you got
Are you hearing?
Because
I need to hear.
Okay, you mentioned that you got feedback from a few realtors, which led to the change.
Yes.
Please, when did this take place exactly? When did you finally decide to effect this change? Okay,
in last year, 2020, I think just immediately after the lockdown, I think what we do is that we have interactions with realtors, and they gave us their opinion. Okay. I think that was just immediately just after the lockdown.
Second quarter.
Yes, that's after the lockdown. Immediately after the lockdown, because there was a lockdown. After the lockdown, we had that interaction.
So I have other questions arising from that.
Yeah.
So, was there a survey taken amongst other people aside these realtors?
That's why-
Just like you said,
That's-
that it would waste time if you have to contact everyone.
Yeah.
But let's say the directors of reps, for example, who are key individuals, was there a survey taken amongst them, for example, or PRG or these other people? Then secondly, if you say you effected this change second quarter of 2020, why was my client given an allocation letter in July of 2020? And okay, he got an allocation letter in July of 2020, and then a year later, July 2021, he's been told that that allocation is not valid.
Concerning the allocation part, I think you'll be able to address that one. They will address the allocation part for your client.
So,
particularly.
I mean,
We'll be able to address that part for your client. Then concerning the part of the survey being carried out, maybe we carried out a survey or so. It is. I would like to also ask during that period. Did you visit the site and you saw what we had? Because anybody who had visited the site and saw the space, it was based on that recommendation. We don't need to go out because we don't need to now carry out a particular survey inside your house except the one that you have seen. Because it's not enough for you to say, okay, do you want it big or do you want it small? It is important that based on what people have seen, is this something that is doable or is it something that should be adjusted? So if you did not see it, you really may not be able to give us the kind of feedback that we want. So it is those people who visited that saw it. I hope you understand. So it is those.
Visited and I was not asked anything.
Nobody asked you. You don't need, because it was based on. We didn't even ask people. Is this small or is it big? Because what we want to do. Let me say this clearly. What we want to do. I'm saying it again, and I'm not. We did not say we are not the ones who said we want to change. Well, let us understand. We are not the ones who said we want to change. And it's not that maybe, like I said again, it's not that the property are not usable. It is based on if it were bigger, if it was like this,
okay,
and all of that. So based on that, we decided to carry out our own. Because if one or two persons have said something, and at the end of the day you do not still carry it out, or probably maybe you do not effect it, it will now mean that at the end of the day, the opinion of those people, you are not really counting it. And guess what? Sometimes some people will give you what we call objective criticism, which we need to go back again and work on. No matter how much we want to protect our ego and say, yes, we did the best thing. Oh yeah, whatever we did is okay for anybody. It will mean that we are just only being egoistic. And we don't want to be egoistic. We want to be able to, at the end of the day, we want to be able to take decisions that are rational and logical at the end of the day.
Right. So I still have.
All right.
I wrote down other questions. Okay, so you're saying for the allocation letter discrepancy, you are going to address. Okay. Then now she has given us dates when the semi-finished will be delivered.
Yes.
What about the fully finished? And then what about those clients that by some weird stroke of luck decide to pay extra for fully finished?
Yeah.
When will those ones be delivered?
Now their own. For those people who their own is semi-finished, it's not whether you decide that you're going to do semi-finished. It's not predicated on us. Hello, it's not predicated on us. It is predicated on the client. Because if the client says, okay, you know what, I don't have the capacity now. I want to be with you sometime later, or probably maybe I want to. It's like what she said. It's an ongoing discussion at the end of the day. So it is not predicated on us. It is predicated on the client.
Yes,
so if the client starts now, I think some clients already have even started already. So if the client starts now, we'll start with the person's unit as at now. So some people have been allocated, and some as they have even been allocated, the ones that have been allocated, and some of them have even started the process. So work is currently ongoing on their own development. Now again, I need to also state this again, like I said before, and I'm going to state it. Now if the cost of, let's say, and it's supposed to be for a particular duration, because we cannot determine the cost of some of this material if a client is being indecisive. If maybe the cost of material still jumps up or maybe jumps down, maybe after a particular period, it might now mean that we will now have to effect those things, because it is based on what the market rate really is. not based on
Oh,
us.
the figures she has given us now is based on what the current market rate
Yeah.
is. So my question is, if somebody's client pays today, being Tuesday the 24th,
Yeah.
how long will it take for that apartment to be delivered fully finished? And I mean, client that's paid before and is paying the 1.8 to 2 point something range. That's extra. How long will it take for it to now be completed, fully finished?
Okay, well, completed, fully finished. For the
Yes.
client who is ready now, it's going to take the process of, we're going to add the timeline for the next allocation. So what we'll just do is that, okay, if somebody gets started now, we'll just start the person for the next phase.
So
of
that means
allocation.
the person will get allocated in December
Yes.
2021. Is that okay? It
But it should
depends on what.
So what?
Which of your clients?
I am asking a question. It's not about any of my clients now, because I need to have as much information as I can get to avoid, let me ask them, let me go back, let me ask them. No.
Okay, like I said before, that the allocation, remember I mentioned that the allocation is there's Mr. A and there's Mr. B.
Yes.
Now, it's not going to, now for the apartments that we've done the allocation, those ones have gone. We have 2 blocks that we're looking at allocating by December. We've already started filling those slots with names as of today.
Yeah.
Now, once we've completed that slot, any other person will be moved to the next batch. Now, the reason why we gave those prices now, and in the email that we sent, we put a disclaimer that these costs are valid for I think about 60 or 90 days.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much that we can do. So once we filled up, because it's based on, that's why I said allocation is not really about what court you bought into at the first time.
Right.
Now, based on, so once we fill up the slots that we have now for the next batch of allocation, any other person will be moved to the next.
So if the
batch.
person pays today, which was my question, as we speak now, the person pays today, there is still room in the allocation for December. Is that?
But now it's also going to be predicated.
What house
It's
type?
going to be predicated on the house type.
What house
2
type?
bedroom. Okay, it depends on it. So
Depending on
so
the
they are
house.
so exactly. So now that they are order, it seems like my question is revealing the fact that there are still other factors to be considered.
Of course, they are going to
Which
be.
I don't think any other person. Am I the only one confused? Okay, let me just go ahead and ask my last question, which is more of a clarification, really. Because when I got the first brochure,
Just go ahead with your question.
when I got the first brochure for the corrections, the attached caption was for the 6.6 million naira clients. Yes. No, that was what I got. For 6.6.
No, because my battery is low.
So the impression I had, and the impression literally every other realtor that I corresponded with had, was that it was only those people that bought during the 6.6 promo.
No.
And that was the information that I ran with up until a few weeks ago when I came to the office.
You said you were going to,
So,
send information. You
Middlechase
have not
was
sent
also having a
it,
meeting
and
with
tell
all
them to
realtors,
call
and
me.
said there were other things that
Tell
came
them
up,
to
and
call
that
me
meeting
before they
didn't
come
go.
there.
While I was still, and I'm speaking for myself, I was still not clear on what
Tell
the
whoever
issue
is
was.
coming to
My
call
client was
me
contacted,
before the person gets there.
and he came to me in that frustration and annoyance, and that one
Did he?
was still dealing with. While I was still dealing with that, I was told that other clients that bought up until last year, this is now excluding 6.6 million naira promo clients, were also affected. I called a director or a top person in reps, and he was arguing with me that that's not the agreement he had with you guys, that's not the conversation he had with you guys, that if my client paid between April and September 2019, that he is affected, that he does not know why I'm telling him about my client that bought into 1 bed, that 1 bed does not have any, and really in the brochure it was only 2 bedroom that was adjusted. I didn't see anything for 1 bedroom.
Okay, can I address?
So, I mean, I'm just saying, no, yes, it has already happened. I cannot go back and undo it. But I'm just saying that it seems like different things keep coming up.
It's just let me, there are no different
And
things.
now I'm asking about this fully finished price, and I'm still hearing it depends.
No,
So can we draw?
it has to, because it is a continuous process. Now, for example, some people have been allocated. Some people have been. Some people don't. Some people have not yet made up their minds as to what exactly they want to do. Some people will say, you know what? I want specification of what type of tiles I want to be used on my apartment. I want the Italian tiles, or maybe I want the Chinese tiles and all of that. Some people haven't really made up their mind as to exactly what they want at the end of the day. And we cannot force them, we cannot force the opinion or our opinion on people. And that's why the conversation has to keep on going. Until a client says, I am now ready for my commitment. That is when we can now say we are going to allocate to this particular person based on the availability of that apartment. So some people who have in Court B can even be allocated in Court A if the person in Court B makes his mind up on time. So it's not based on the fact that, okay, because I was in Court A before, I will now be allocated. I hope you understand. It is based on, because it's going to be based on what we have as available and the fact that, okay, somebody is making up his or her mind on time. And it is based on that we are going to, that we are allocated to people. Now, because it will not mean that, oh, if for example it takes me maybe 2 years or maybe a year to make up my mind, are we now going to say we are going to just leave that apartment open like that for people? No, it may not really work that way. And that's why we said that it is going to be based on those certain conditions. Number two, like I also said, if somebody makes his mind up within maybe a year after, and the cost of materials maybe skyrockets, it will now be on us as at that time to say, okay, we are the one that will foot the bill for that particular one. May not be on us at that particular stage, because we have now communicated and we have done a disclaimer as to maybe, because we are not the one to determine the cost of maybe materials will go up or not. It is if the person starts on time, like for those people who have been allocated, it is majorly because they took the decision up on time and say, you know what, I want it the way it is. And that's why we're able to do 36 units of apartment allocation within 2 days. So if anybody who comes again and says, oh, I want to take it up again, the person will still be allocated. So it is not that maybe if people meet certain conditions, they'll get allocated. Sorry, Mrs. Ayemi.
So I wanted to address this. She mentioned the 1 bedroom. Now, when we sold 1 beds, I think they were the last. Can everybody hear me? When we sold 1 beds, they were in Court C and were the last set of the new designs. Now, when we did the remodeling, we ended up we now decided to include 1 bed to Court A and the rest of it. Initially, like I had said before, there was no 1 bed in Court A. Now we had moved it to Court A, so all the blocks except block 2 has 1 bed apartment. We have about 4 units at the top. Now, for the clients who have bought into it, at the initial stage, their allocation period was, I think, either 12 to 24 months. Yes. But we told them that we now have 1 bed units. If you are interested in collecting this unit, kindly pay up and then take it. We have a choice to retain those units and sell them at the moment at current price. But we said if you offer our first refusal, all the clients who have bought, even though your allocation period is not until maybe next year, where we don't mind bumping you forward just so we clear all the backlogs that we have. So the clients, I think I have 1 or 2 clients who said, oh, they still want to maintain their 24 months payment plan, and that's fine. The people who we've allocated to said, we want to pay up the balance, and then we move them forward. Now, the fact that that client is still in that same block, the rules will still apply. But for the client who doesn't want to pay the extra, then the person might need to wait for his turn.
Please, I beg to differ. Okay. You came in at 6.6. I have clients that paid within the first week outright. In fact, the girl has almost killed me. She's right here now, just to chop off my head. She was my first client that paid outright at 6.6. The first week we brought it into the market, she paid outright. Till today, we don't even know where she is.
Sorry,
I sent her mail to you. Okay. I sent her note to Tuashe. She's in America now. She has told me immediately she comes here, she's coming to the office with her lawyers. So are you telling me, she is telling me that Yemi Sita is not even going to work? She has an idea of what her apartment is. She's chosen her kitchen. She's chosen her cabinet. You're telling me now that because she hasn't made up her mind, her allocation is still whenever. It doesn't work that way.
We need feedback from her to make a move.
So that at the end of the day,
I don't know what you guys are going to do, but that will not.
But that's why we said that we can have that interaction. Sorry, we can have that interaction with them. We can set up a meeting between us and her. So we can have that conversation. Because where we have always had the back and forth is sometimes them not really understanding exactly what we want to achieve. So if maybe at that particular point in time, I will get to you. If maybe at that particular point in time there's that interaction, because like I've also said before, the 80% of the people that we have actually discussed with directly have between 70 to 80% of those people.
But they don't understand.
It is that part understanding.
She told me that someone just called out of the blues and was telling her some things she couldn't understand.
Exactly what my client.
You guys have to be more professional.
That is the part where maybe that is the part where
I mean people are going crazy.
That is the
I
part.
think 22 out of 22, about 18 are going to court, and my children are telling me, "Mommy, you better know what you're doing." That
is.
It doesn't make sense,
Mrs. Ali. That part where we have that interaction, because sometimes it is because you are having that interaction alone with them, majorly.
I don't need to have interaction. That's why I said they are calling customer service. Customer service is not picking. They are calling customer service. They are diverting them somewhere. They are diverting to someone. The person they diverted to is not answering. Then they come to me. How many can I handle?
Wait, calm down, please. What we have just done is now is to create a meeting on Zoom with every one of your clients. So that I think we started that conversation already with some of these clients, and I can tell you that already the feedback has been awesome for most of the clients. Because some people have even come down to the Mrs. Ayeni, calm down.
Different chats. Junadia, do you get them or not? No. Most of them have not come over because I'm the one getting the feedback.
So what we'll do is that, see, what we will do, some of the feedbacks that we already have, we need to share that conversation with you, because sometimes, some clients may want to put pressure on you. Even
I reject those pressures.
We want to put certain pressure on you, even though they have agreed to certain terms. I'm going to discuss some of the discussion and the conversations that we've had. We're going to share them with you so that there will be an update that the company and you can both have. So based on that, there's that interaction. Because once we have, so that it doesn't look as if the information is one-sided, and I go back to you and I want to put certain pressure on you, or because of the fact that I just want to be able to make something and get a better deal as to what I had already agreed before. So once we have that interaction and you are also there, it makes it more easier for us. What we've just been doing over time is that the information has just been maybe one-sided, where sometimes the interaction, the realtors are also not being carried along. Which is now what we have now decided, okay, we are going to carry it, but I mentioned it before, where we are going to have that interaction, where the realtor will also participate in those discussions, the Zoom conversation, like the Zoom meetup, where we have that conversation. We'll get to you, ma'am.
So like you said, sorry, about the company talking to I understand the usefulness of that, but what about the situation where a client insists that when it was time to market and time to collect money, you could talk to me, so why can't you give me why do I have to go to the company for proper explanation? Why can't I get that from you?
I will now need to